Nation Fit in 10, it is day 64. 6 days to go, if you can believe it, into the final week. This time next Saturday, the challenge will be officially over. Kind of crazy, right? Goes by super fast. Our 19th challenge. If you haven't booked your scan, please make sure you do. www.calendly.com/trainonmain. Book your final scan, please. Let's see how you did. All right. Today, I'm going to talk to you about hydration because this is a very common topic that comes up. Get a lot of questions about this. How much water should I drink, etc., etc. Because in order to stay hydrated, you need to be drinking water. You need to be having fluids, right? You just need to be having water. Right? No. You need to be having water and salt. You need to be having water and electrolytes. Primarily, you want to make sure that you have enough sodium, or I should say specifically sodium. Sodium. Okay? So, let's talk about what happens if you just drink water, for instance. So let's say you don't have any sodium, or you have very low sodium in your diet, and you drink quote enough water, which we'll talk about in a second. So what's going to happen? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to produce less. So by not having any sodium or having little sodium and drinking a lot of water, you're going to cause the kidneys to reabsorb less sodium, which means there's less sodium in your bloodstream, which means there's less water in your bloodstream, which means there is less fluid in your circulatory system, which means your heart has to work harder. So with more sodium in your diet, now I realize I just went down one rabbit hole. It's not the only reason why you won't have sodium, obviously, but if you just drink water and you don't focus on the sodium, you're going to expel more and more sodium, and you're just going to go into whatever it's called. I can never pronounce this word, hyponatremia or whatever it is. Just basically you're going into low levels of bodily sodium. And there's a whole whack of reasons why we need sodium, okay? Obviously, number one, we need it for muscle contraction, right? We want to make sure we have enough sodium so that we don't cramp. We want to make sure that we have enough sodium for feelings of energy. So sodium in and of itself isn't going to give you energy, but if you ever deplete sodium, you're going to quickly learn what it feels like, and it's not a good feeling. It feels like you have no energy. It feels like you can't do anything. It feels like you can't move. Okay, so you want to make sure that, especially as you drink more water, that you get enough sodium in with that. Now, it might be that you have enough sodium in your food. Okay, enough sodium. All right, and this is going to be a little bit dependent on what you do and who you are and your size and your body composition, etc. Generally, I say, when it comes to water, you need 1 liter for every 50 pounds of body weight. But really, if your body has more muscle mass, if you are a more heavily muscled person, then you are more made of water. Because muscle is somewhere around 80 or more percent water, probably more than that, it's probably like 90% water. And fat is somewhere around 10% water. So if you have low muscle mass, high fat, you will require less water. But if your body's made of more water, if it's made up of more lean mass, in particular muscle, if you have higher muscle mass, you're going to need more water. But generally speaking, as a rough guideline, 1 liter for every 50 pounds of body weight, okay, or thereabouts. If you're 150 pounds, 3 liters of water per day. Now, what would you want to do? You kind of want to sip on that throughout the day, in addition to getting enough sodium. So how much sodium for water? Well, So let's talk about salt here. Basically, we can think of two kinds of salt. We can think of just our white table salt, which is somewhere around 40 or low 40s, 42% or so sodium. Okay, so sodium chloride. Or you could be having something like pink salt, and pink salt is somewhere in the neighborhood of around 30% sodium. And that's just because it contains other trace minerals in there. So there's going to be less sodium because there's other trace minerals. So usually I recommend pink salt just for those trace minerals. So what does that look like? So if we do a teaspoon of salt, and let's assume that it's just regular table salt, then it's around 5 or maybe 5.5 grams of salt. And if it's 40%, let's just say it's 40% sodium, because that's what it is roughly, then we're looking at about 2,400 milligrams or 2.4 grams of actual sodium. All right, if it was pink salt, again, one flat teaspoon of pink salt, we're looking at about 1,700 milligrams or 1.7 grams of sodium. So for every liter of water, I usually recommend about 1.5 grams of sea salt. Okay, or maybe somewhere around the neighborhood of 1.3 grams or 1.2 grams of table salt, of regular white table salt. All right, so you want to make sure, in order to be well hydrated, primarily speaking, the other electrolytes do matter: calcium, magnesium, zinc, chlorine, etc. They all matter as well, but your number one electrolyte, the most common one, is going to be sodium. And if you are doing lots of physical activity, or you are somebody who sweats a lot, you are going to lose even more sodium, because you can lose a lot of sodium through sweating. I think on average, again, it's going to depend on the size of the person, how much they sweat. But, you want to look at replacing probably around a gram or 1.5 grams of sodium, of salt for every hour that you're exercising. Okay, now again, these are just rough approximations. This is really going to be dependent, again, on your size, on the amount of muscle mass you have, on your intensity of exercise, how much you're sweating. But let's come back to basically the root of this video, or the root of this particular topic, and that is, when you hydrate, you want enough sodium along with the water. Hydration is not just about drinking water. Okay, so remember that. Now, you may not want to just if you're not having enough salt in your food and you're not wanting to put salt in your water, you could just take some salt in your mouth and drink it back. Although you also could put in some lime, and lime will help to sort of give your water a better taste if you want to put the salt in there. So water, salt, lime. And this is something that I would highly recommend that you do even first thing in the morning when you wake up, because you are going to be dehydrated. It is a really good time to hydrate. And I think, as I mentioned to you, was it yesterday or the day before, about the little mix that I do in the morning? You don't have to do that whole mix, but it is a good time, like I said, to do lime and salt with water first thing in the morning when you wake up. Okay? Okay, so much more I could say on this, but I think I'll probably just leave it here today. Just remember, sodium is important. Sodium is very important for your health. Sodium is very important for your health. It's a mineral that your body needs. So we need to get over this idea that sodium is bad for us. Okay, it's an essential electrolyte that we need. All right, let's get to the message of the day. Day 64, 6 days to go. By the way, I did send out your numbers today. So please make sure you take a look at those. All right, Today's message of the day: where there is a will, there is a way. Where there is a will, there is a way. And I know this personally because anything that I said I was going to do and then I didn't quite do it, and there's been many of those, by the way. I hate to say it. I hate to admit it. It's true. I just didn't want to do it that badly. But anything that was really, really important to me, food intake in my diet's always been super, super important to me. So I always found a way. Okay, it wasn't always perfect, but I got to as close to perfect as I could because it was so important to me. So, if you want something, you'll make it happen. I truly believe this. Now, I do agree that there's only so many things you can prioritize. So then it's just a matter on your list of priorities to prioritize what is most important to you. All right, but your health should be important to you. Your health should be something that is way up on the top of your list, if not the, well, it really should be the number one thing. I want to say if it's not the number one thing, it should be in the top 3 or something, but it really should be number one, because without it, you have nothing. Without it, you are screwed. You are really screwed, and you can't rely on the system for your health. You have to rely on you. You have to rely on you for your health. Yes. Not on anybody else. Nobody's going to save you. Believe me. Okay? Positive energy, positive vibes. Believe in yourself for the love of God. Give some gratitude. We got 7 days to go. Well, I guess 6 days to go. Today's 64. Day 64. Please book your scan ASAP. I want to see where you end up. If you have any issues with the days where the scans are running, reach out to me and we'll get you in. And let's give it your very best in this final week, the final 10%. Still a lot can happen with 1/10 of the challenge, right? It is 1 of 10 weeks. Every week adds up, right? We saw this in especially in the first to second scan, right? I'll talk to you guys all tomorrow. Give it your very, very best this final week. Not too many days left. Let's go.